Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another UK Indie Spotlight, the series where we sit down with wrestlers and various people from the pro wrestling scene and essentially shine a spotlight on them and find out more about them and their careers. I'm always Dan DP DeBreezy, however you want to call me, that's my name. But I am joined, more importantly, by one of the hottest stars coming from the Australasian region, from New Zealand to be precise. He is one half of arguably the hottest and best tag team in the country, never mind the world even. He is the Headbutt Messiah. It is TK Cooper. How you doing?
Yeah, no, I'm good. Thanks for having me on the podcast. Is it still called a podcast if it's a video?
It's a bit of both. It doesn't matter really. It's still part of the podcast, so ultimately we say that.
It's more of a curiosity thing than it needs to be factually true. Don't worry about it. Yeah, wasteful question, really. I'm good though. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Just finished work not too long ago and was kept by my manager for a little bit longer than I was hoping. So I had less time to prepare, less time to set up this. But yeah,
That's right.
hopefully it's not
These are all
too.
things that people watching this or listening to this will have no concept of by the time it gets to them. So
That is true.
it's a lot of content consumers. You just get this at your leisurely whenever you want it.
Mhm.
Dan's put the hard yards in, and we're bringing this to you as soon as possible. So
Yes.
comment below your love and respect.
um,
Like, comment, and subscribe.
that's the one. That is the one. But yeah, to put it in context, we were meant to do this around 5 or like 5, something like that. It's currently 5:45. So,
I have
um,
been waiting. No,
sorry. But no, as I said, this is the UK Indie Spotlight. We essentially go through your career, from beginnings to, well, current day stuff.
good luck.
Yeah. So, we kick us off as we normally do with these interviews as we go. And to the best of your memory, what is your first wrestling memory in regards to what made you want to get into it? And
Um, my first memory of wrestling is probably well, I think the first bit of wrestling I ever saw was the um was it Team Alliance versus Team WWF match, the 10-man tag.
Mhm.
Um, that's basically it, really. I don't really know where it progressed from there. That's just the first thing I saw, and then because we didn't really have wrestling in New Zealand, like we didn't really have like easy access to watching wrestling in New Zealand, so I don't even really know how it came on the telly. It was obviously like super out of sync, I think, too, because it was like, well, mind you, I don't actually know. I don't even know the year I watched it. Obviously, it happened when it happened, but I don't know when I watched it because I know it was definitely on like. By the time I started watching, like actually following wrestling in New Zealand, we had like we only had SmackDown, and it was always on like a week delay. So, like, um, as I started to follow it a little bit more closely, the website and the episode I would have watched, or I would have taped and watched, was always like out of sync, and it was only like I think like around. And again, I don't even really remember when that was, but like that kind of led into when the WWE came to New Zealand for the first time in 2006, and I think they did like a super like squished viewing, like what do they call like an omnibus? Is that what it's called when there's just loads of episodes of something back to back to back?
Yeah.
Um, so they just put on like loads of the rest. Maybe it wasn't a week. Maybe it was a month behind because they put on like a whole evening of like back to back episodes of SmackDown, so it caught up to like the current like chronology. So when they came to do the tour, thing, even though like it was called the like WrestleMania, not WrestleMania Backlash, but I think it's like the WrestleMania Rebound tour or something like that. So like they were basically just rehashing all of the matches that they'd just done at WrestleMania, but like super house show style where nothing important really happened.
Yeah.
Like I think the main event was Mark Henry versus Kurt Angle versus The Undertaker, and I think The Undertaker won by DQ, which like you can't do that in a triple threat. So like, like all those things that at the time it just didn't really matter. I was like 12, 13, I think. So um, I wasn't super behind the curve, and you couldn't even be like a super like smart or like hardcore Twitter fan in 2006 because there wasn't those resources to do that.
Mhm.
Also I was a kid. Also I was a kid. That's the main
A key factor to that as well, yeah.
yeah. The factor that plays into that is the fact that I was a child. So um, I but yeah, but I think the main thing I was upset about was that I didn't get to see the Undertaker do the last ride because he just got like I'm pretty sure he just got hit with the belt and then the match just ended. But Kurt was the champ, so like everything was bad really. No, but it was just very like low. Like looking at it retrospectively now, it was a really like low energy show for them because it was more just to show face and be like, yeah, we went to New Zealand, but the matches weren't like. I mean, mind you, again, I was just a kid, so I don't remember any of the spots. I don't really remember a lot of
Mhm.
the matches, but most of it was just kind of the thrill of seeing live wrestling. I think because it was the first time New Zealand had ever got it.
Yeah.
So, and I think it was like my first, one of my first like New Zealand indie shows happened like earlier that year as well. So there was a really kind of like hodgepodge luck thing of just so much wrestling all at once. After having none for years of just like watching it on again like tape delay and then finally get to see it in person. It's just blew my 12-year-old mind at the time. So yeah, all of it to say, that's pretty much what triggered me getting in. What was my first memory of wrestling and what got me into wrestling? Because as soon as I saw it live, something in me was like, now that I've seen it, I think I can do it, sort of thing.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, it's interesting you mention that because it being kind of a bad experience, not a bad experience, but a very as a live experience, it wasn't necessarily up to par. Because like mine was 2003, and the main event was like Tajiri and Rikishi against in I don't remember who it was now. It was like Albert, I think it was, or something.
Oh yeah.
So
I feel like as a kid, you don't really like fully process of like this guy's crap, this guy's good. Except it's just kind of like it's just more exciting just to see it, just to see the product all at once. Obviously, there are the bigger, there's the Hulk Hogan's, there's the Ric Flairs who just like have all the flashy and are just so like iconic. But
Mhm.
to see just for me at least, like to see WWE guys in person at all was just so um I don't really know how to describe it. Like it was just so awesome. As like
Yeah.
yeah, like nothing I saw when I was a kid. I was like, oh, that's kind of whatever. Like every single match, I was like, yeah,
Yeah, I think it's a very extraordinary experience.
yeah. So it was cool.
Uh, yeah. So normally what we go on to after that would be after uh your first experience, basically. How long were you training to be a wrestler before you actually had your first match?
Um, I think I started training in like April 2010. No, April 2009, and then debuted in April. No, that's not true. Uh, I started training April 2010, and then I debuted in March 2011.
Ah, fair enough. And I have here as well. Again, this is mainly going to be from CageMatch.com. You know, the wrestling
Yeah, like,
encyclopedia.
that's the problem. Cage Match probably doesn't know anything about New Zealand wrestling, so almost definitely doesn't have the first 4 years of my career. I imagine.
Well, let's see if it's correct. Firstly, who were your head trainers or like your trainers? Because on here, KJ has four listed, but I'll mention three of them. There was Alfred Valentine,
Yeah,
Dave O'Connor, and
yeah,
I don't know how you pronounce this. Kingy.
yep, yep. Kingy is the one.
Yeah. Uh, how was it like being under
They
them?
got
Like,
that. I'm pretty sure they got that off of I used to. Well, it still exists, but I don't use it. Off of my like character Facebook page. You know, like it used to be like the fan page for
Hmm.
TK Cooper, where like I put in the about of like all of that really, like nicknames, trainers, move names, blah. I feel like cage match. Whoever was kind enough to make me a cage match, that's where they started, kind of with like trying to figure out any information about me. The only problem is again that I didn't put any kind of match list on that Facebook page, so uh, so I imagine like I'll look it up later. Maybe I probably won't. Um, the matches probably don't start until I start wrestling in the UK, which objectively is probably better for me. Um, less bad matches to look up.
Fair enough.
That's the question. How was it training under them?
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, I mean, I don't really know how to explain it to you because it's it's the only experience I had. So
that's
so
fair enough.
as
Yeah,
far as I
yeah. It's just so I think we ask it, and then sometimes you get an answer about how they were as a person and like stuff like that. Sometimes you get something weird that's like because they only had them trainers, so it's like you can't really compare it to anyone else.
yeah, that is pretty much my experience really. Like it's just
Yeah,
there was no other opportunities to train anywhere else, so that was like the only experience I could have, and I thought it was good. So
yeah.
thank you very much.
So we move on now to the in-ring aspect of this. And again, this is all from Cage Match and like, the Internet Wrestling Database, like them sort of sites that just have the generic sort of stuff because a lot of this from your early career is not available online to look at. Um so what I've got here is you started in 2011.
Yeah,
You had 9 matches in 2011.
maybe
I'm not going through all of them, don't worry. But it's just the statistics that it has here. So you had 9 matches, 1 win, 8 losses.
probably
Uh,
that sounds alright.
but according to Cage Match, your first match was a part of an NZPWY Eliminator Battle Royal,
It actually was. Yeah,
competing with Impact Pro Wrestling as the Genesis 2011 show on in March.
yeah. Boom. I knew that.
Well,
That's what I said.
is it you? Is it you updating this?
I'm surprised it's up there. Fair play, match. You've sure shown me.
I think that's just quite uh, common. I think among wrestlers, like a lot of like the early goings for a lot of wrestlers is like some sort of multi-person battle royal sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, especially like a rumble sort of thing. Like it's like the safest way to introduce. Like you get to be out in front of the crowd, but then you're surrounded by a bunch of other people, probably been wrestling way longer than you. Normally, you won't. You only stay in there a couple of minutes, so you just like kind of dip your toe in, like learning,
Hmm.
and you're just getting a feel for what it's like in front of, like trying to perform in front of everybody, and then yeah, you grow from there. It just is generally the safest environment. Like, I mean, that's not to say like having a singles match against just a someone who's been wrestling for a long time isn't also a great way to learn, but definitely much easier to get a little trainee to just come in and out. So yeah,
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Um. So going on from that, I got like a couple of things here. So like your first match, first win, etc. Uh. So your first win, uh, came shortly afterwards, in April 2011 against Pat Shisk. Shisk, was that right?
yeah. I don't even know if that's true, but it sounds true. Um,
That's fair enough. Yeah, like I said, it's just running through the career and running through the statistics that KJH has because a lot of it is not readily available.
let me let me pause this interview one
Oh
second.
yeah.
I mean, you can either leave all of this in or edit it out. I'll leave it to you. But
So while he's gone, I'll take this chance to just basically say to you, as he said earlier, like leave a like on the video and leave a comment underneath. Give us a subscription to the channel. Everything helps towards our goals. Above my head is gonna be like the medias above my head, but they're not there now because I've got to edit them in. So above my head will be those in edit. But yeah, just hold any of those too. It will help towards our goals ultimately, and anyhow is indeed appreciated. He's back.
Mhm. So this is this is my like wrestling book that we got given
Oh.
when I first started. It's got like a bunch of like difficult to show you, but like my trainer Alfred Valentine, he gave all of the trainees from my class these like 1B5 like school books,
Hmm.
and yeah, it just had like glued in the front all these like wrestling terminology, and then like over the time of just like well wrestling there, I drew in like I started writing down like move ideas, like moves I wanted to use, nicknames I wanted to have, gear ideas. Um, but then in the back, I kept like a whole list of all my matches. So
Ah.
um, so yeah, I wanted to cross reference this to see how true it is. Um, yeah, April 9th, apparently I did wrestle Pat Shiz.
Apparently.
And
Yeah.
yeah, beat him.
Yes.
Beat him via frog splash. So there you go.
Oh, nice. You got the match finished there too.
Yeah, I mean, I only did that for one page, and then after that, I just started underlining who won and who lost. I stopped.
Ah,
It took up too much space in the page, so it just started becoming wrestled this guy, lost or beat him.
fair enough.
The end.
So we move on then to IPW Fallout 2011, where you had your first title match. It was a tag title match for the IPW New Zealand Tag Team titles. Uh,
Assume.
you you were part of a team called TNT.
Mm-hmm.
Yourself and Lil T. At the time, you were
Yep.
called Brother T.
Mm-hmm.
Taking on Smack Industries, Alexander and John E. King, who were the champions at the time.
Yeah, that does ring a bell.
So was there any like added pressure at the time? Because obviously you're not even a year in at this point into the wrestling business, and you've got a title match against two. I'm assuming two more accustomed to the business guys.
Yeah, like so Johnny King became Kingy, and Alexander, they'd both been wrestling, I
Oh,
think,
okay.
for like 8 or 9 years at that point. But I mean, I say that all relative to, and again, this isn't to take away from what they achieved,
Hmm.
because I pretty much went through the same thing as well. But like New Zealand wrestling, especially when I started, and even before I started, was there's basically only one show a month, as opposed to the litany of shows we have over here, where you can wrestle like Friday, Saturday, Sunday every week, and maybe even 7 days a week if you manage to get on like a like on a camp show run, or like a what's it called, a half term camp
Hmm.
run as well.
Yeah.
You can be wrestling like 14 days on the bounce. But so just like the the experience is harder to if you like no, I mean, yeah, like like any game, any video game, it's harder to accrue experience when there isn't enough things to do. So
Hmm.
so like 8 or 9 years wrestling in New Zealand is like what, wrestling 6 months in the UK almost, because just like the reps you get in New Zealand just aren't there.
Yeah.
Again, for any New Zealanders who happen to be listening now and who are disputing it, obviously the scene's changed now, and I know that there's way more wrestling that has cropped up in the time I've been away, but uh, that has no bearing on my story. So yeah, basically what I'm saying is, you're right that like I think, well, according to my book, this was my 16th match, and yeah,
Ah.
I was having a title match against guys who have been doing this for years. Um, and again, like I wasn't trying to take away from like, oh, their years are only equate to um, like 6 months over here. But then obviously I hadn't been over here yet to know that my like all the experience at the time was relative to the situation.
Yeah.
So um, but yeah, did I feel any extra pressure? No, not particularly. I think because and again, this is no slight on IPW. It just wasn't. it didn't feel like that big a deal to be wrestling for IPW. Like it was really really fun, and I was like enjoying like the concept of performing and being a wrestler, but it didn't feel anywhere near like what WWE or AW looks like. If you know what I mean? No, it wasn't the same. It wasn't as grandiose. Like we're just
Yeah.
wrestling in the same sort of what's the equivalent of like a working men's club, but in New Zealand, just in like a little like leisure center hall
Hmm.
with like quite low production. Isn't anything beyond just like the ring and the chairs. Like there's no LED screens or no like cool lights. So it's no York Hall, it's no electric ballroom sort of like no pizzazz to go with it. It's just very like bare bones, stripped down.
Hmm.
It is a wrestling show purely based on the fact there is a ring in the middle of the room and there are wrestlers wrestling. Other than that, it could
Yeah,
be.
it's just like
So
the literal definition of what.
yeah, exactly. So like again, not to take away from like my story or diminish anybody else that was a part of it, but no, I didn't feel any like discernible like different feelings. I mean, it's obviously hard to like think like what how did I feel 12 years ago? But also also I'm pretty sure I would remember if I'd been feeling like, oh man, this is the big deal. But
Hmm.
like I felt pressure to wrestle such good wrestlers like Kingy and Alexander, but I didn't feel any like, oh man, this is the tag title match. This is the dance. You got to show up today. As opposed to like other times, like more recently, tagging with Mambo and like doing certain matches. I've been like bricking it backstage, which I generally don't really get. Like, and this isn't just a weird like sidebar, just to brag about how nervous I don't get. I just like I don't know. It's just I guess I've just been in sports for so long. Like basketball, water polo, rugby, just all of that. Like I've been in the like pre-game. Well, here we go, sort of like mentality of like uh, kind of just we're at that point now. There's no going back. Kind of have to do it, and that's pretty much how wrestling operates for me. Like once I've got it in my head, it's just as soon as you go through the curtain, you can't really double check with anybody because now you're out there. So
Hmm.
just kind of I guess yeah, just over the years I've become accustomed to it because it's just how you go with like sports. That's just how you have to deal with stuff. So yeah, so long story long, no, I didn't really have any issues.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fair. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a question, and the question to be answered yes or no. So in your case, it was no, and that's absolutely fair. That's absolutely fine. I find it interesting though, actually, that you said it's relative to your time then, your experience then. Because I mean, I've not been a huge like I wasn't a huge indie wrestling fan. Like I was, WWE. It was purely just that really at the time, but
Oh,
um, I do think like what you say is like the way that Impact Pro was set up. It was very similar, in England, in the UK. It was very similar setups. Like there was York Hall was still around, but York Hall wasn't really a wrestling venue. It was more boxing. So it had more of that
yeah.
grandiose to it because of the boxing's always been a spectator sport.
Like historically, that was quite like a big sporting venue, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But other than York Hall, I don't think there's any other venue in London other than like stadiums that have like an LED setup or massive spotlights or floodlights, whatever. But like, so I think it's something that's not necessarily unique or exclusive to.
Yeah, I guess like there's definitely just something about like certain shows I've been on over here where like there's just an atmosphere of this is a big show. Like without progress going to Ali Pali or Wembley, before those shows, it's just like, even like I'm just trying to think of other shows I've been on. Well, like North, for instance. Like every show I've been a part of up there, whether it was at the Riverside or whether it was at the Anarchy Brewery. Obviously, these are just words to you. You haven't been to any of those. But like,
I
if you have
know
the
of
chance to
them.
if you have the chance to watch the shows online, then you'll kind of get the gist. But like, just the atmosphere in the room with shows like North, I just think like, wow, I'm really lucky to be a part of this because this feels like a really big deal, as opposed to um, at the time back home wrestling on like one show every month, and the like the privilege to wrestle on the show was like, oh man, this is awesome to be part of IPW. But then like it never really felt like it was growing or it was getting any bigger or like the company was, because I think that's the difference between like the size of New Zealand and the size of New Zealand wrestling versus the size of England and the size of like BritWres, where
Hmm.
like um companies like IPW and companies that have come afterward as that are still trying to grow, like so many try to um like branch out and diversify and like um grow it into a thing that it becomes more of like a cultural event, if you know what I mean. Like it becomes like, but
Yeah.
it just has never, it's never gotten past like just the that it's just like it's just a little club for everybody to pop down to and like watch the wrestling when they want it to become like um as relevant as maybe like the rugby would be. Like everybody goes to their local rugby game every week, and this I suppose like football as well. But I didn't want to use football because I feel like football is like so much bigger over here than it is to rugby back home.
Hmm.
Like I don't know what grade I could, like it's like wrestling isn't necessarily like League Two, but I think even that is like too big of a comparison for New Zealand. So it's hard to explain
like
where like
like a conference league sort of.
yeah, like it's bigger than just like the local thing, but it's also not big enough for it to be like a corporate
Yeah,
invested
it's
thing
all like
as well.
those football clubs that have like a park as their
Yeah.
stadium.
Yeah, so it's just hard to like define really where New Zealand wrestling is trying to be or go, what it's trying to set up for people like me and people after me who like like New Zealand wrestling isn't the destination, it's just the platform.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, and like you said, there was the only place at the time that was available to you, so it makes sense why you were
And
there.
I'm not bitter about it at all. Like it was a really fun way to learn to do wrestling. It was just only when I moved over here that things really started to um kickstart or just jump up another level.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So we go on then to 2012. Again, this probably won't match what you've got written down, but 21 matches, 2 wins, and 19 losses. But at least you're doubling your win record. Um,
So I'll tell you, according to my book, 3 wins, 17 losses, and one
uh,
like no contest, I guess. So I don't. Oh yeah, there was a DQ. I found it over here. So that's not important. Yeah.
uh,
Well, the
no,
main thing is I'm right, but it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Anyway,
no,
go
no,
on.
no, no, no,
Bring
you're
up,
right. You are right.
bring up information. How can I help?
Uh, so you had a um, a series of matches for the IPW New Zealand Tag Titles again. So
Mm-hmm.
yourself and Little T against the team of Kazuki and Link Van Haggard, Neo Justice Double.
Next name
You fought them according to Cage Match 5 times for those tag titles in a singular year.
looks like it. Yep.
Do you recall? Was there a rivalry going on with that? Was there like a story being told with that, or was it just simple case of your
Again,
team?
literally, I'm pretty sure it was that because, like, again, we only ran shows every once a month, and there wasn't enough of like a fan base following to really tell any kind of like big, elaborate, long term story. So every single show was just like a showcase
Yeah.
of like, it's this, and like we were the bad guy team. They were the good guy team. So like.
Hmm.
I mean I say that where like there were like little storyline hooks to try to get people to come back, but like I feel like the people who knew the storylines the best were the people who were involved in them because we were always there. Whereas like fans would come and go. They got stuff on. They can't come to every show.
Yeah.
So yeah, ultimately I think like it was just more of a more of a convenience thing that like I assume other people must have wrestled them as well. In the if we wrestled them 5 times, there's like what that's like 7 months that are still free to that someone else could have wrestled them. So
Yeah.
I assume it we dipped in. I can't really remember exactly, but yeah,
Yeah.
imagine it goes something like that.
That's fair enough. Um. So again, according to Cage Match, you've got your official record there. Um,
Mhm.
your second ever win came in a singles match against Byron Beach.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yep.
Uh,
Similar level of training status, and I think I beat him in like
okay.
20 seconds as well.
Oh, okay. So it was sort of like a youngsters showcase sort of thing.
Yeah, because I think it was at like this. It's called Armageddon Expo, which is like the New Zealand equivalent of like a Comic Con, way smaller, way smaller. But they
Yeah.
have like 3 sessions of wrestling on through the day. So it's like an 11 till 12 slot, a 1 till 2 slot, and a 4 till 5 slot. So they just put
Yeah.
like a couple matches on sprinkled in there, and I think I beat Byron in like a minute or something in that. Where is that? Why is that written down here anyway? Here it is. According to me, match number 28,
Ah.
and it was actually my fourth win according to my book. So
Yeah, I mean, I think your book is going to be more accurate than the Nintendo database.
I know probably knows a bit more than Cage Match does, but it's not important. It's just surprised they've got any of this New Zealand stuff to be entered anyway. I assume there must be some New Zealand fan who just like back
Mhm.
cataloged all of the old IPW shows.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say some sort of New Zealandian. Is that the word? How do you?
New Zealander.
Thank you, New Zealand. That didn't come to mind for some reason. I was say Kiwi, and then I thought, right, is it like?
Yeah, Kiwi's right too. Kiwi's right too.
Oh, fair enough. Um, but yeah, I was gonna say like it was probably some New Zealander or maybe even like the Impact owner, maybe
Maybe.
just like getting it on there, like get recognition for the company and get your name out there. It's like, oh, hang on, there's a show in New Zealand. I'll go to that.
Yeah,
Like,
try, I suppose.
yeah, exactly. Um, so we do move on though to 2013, and then we get a big shift. Oh no, we don't. Sorry, no, we don't. I missed one. Sorry. At the
No, we
end of
don't.
2012, at the end of 2012, sorry, you had a tag title match again against Neo Just Double, where you and Little T did indeed win the tag titles.
Six times the charm. So they say.
So how was that experience? Was like winning your first title? Did it was it meaningful in any way, or was it sort of just like getting through the bases? Like,
No, it was that was a really big deal at the time. It felt like because it was um again, as much as I've kind of played down like the significance of IPW, um like in the time of being there, it was like that was my goal to be the tag champ with Lil T,
mhm.
and then like being like a trainee, and what that was like 2 years, maybe 18 months into um like finally being on shows, and then again like in that time it's hard to get like reps, and you just want to be a good representative of um the promotion you're in and of yourself. So it was cool to get like, oh, you guys are gonna win the belts, so it just made more of just an indication of you're doing good, so here's a reward sort of thing. So
Yeah,
yeah, it was pretty important, it was significant.
that's good. Yeah. um. So we now move on to 2013, where something clearly changes because you jump from 2 wins to 14 wins. You had
Oh yeah.
28 matches, according to Cage Match again. Um,
No, that's cool. So yeah, according to what I've got here, by the end of 2013, I would have had 48 matches, and I had 6 wins, 40 losses, and two like whatevers. Two doesn't count. So if I manage to get it up by the end of this year to like whatever, anywhere near, I think that's like the main thing I've been tracking actually over the years is how close my wins get to my losses before the losses run away again. Because I think it keeps happening over the years where like
mhm.
it'll get maybe within 10, and then I'll get like and then I'll get booked for another 30 losses. So
Yeah, that definitely seems to be a trend in your early years, at least.
yeah. I feel like now that I've hitched my wagon to Mando, I'm more likely to win more because everybody likes him. So
I mean, like you too. I mean,
yeah, but they definitely there's more of him to like.
I can't necessarily I agree, but I like Mambo. I just
So
I prefer I prefer the other
you're
half.
a big you're a big Mayfair's Mafia kind of guy, so I feel like I know what sort of wrestler you like. So
I mean that is fair. I mean I don't make any secret. I prefer the people of the heelish manner, but
yeah, yeah, for sure.
but it's not saying I don't enjoy the work of both page characters. You know.
Of course, of course.
But no, moving on.
But anyway,
This is not about me. This is not about me.
way off track.
um, you, you, where is it? So here we go. So you had some misfortune, I should say, with the Armageddon Expo because there is a lot of mention says the Armageddon Cup, something of which I believe you've not won.
No, I think I don't know how close I ever came to it. I feel like I didn't get any. I never got any further. No, I made it to the finals. I made it to the
Yes.
finals. But yeah, no, I never won it in my time in New Zealand.
hmm So was it held like more than once a year? Because according to Cage Match again, there's like multiple instances of it.
So there were like different expos in different parts of the country.
hmm
So there was, like so I think there was like one in Auckland, which is where I'm from. There was one in Wellington, which is obviously the New Zealand capital, and then I think in the last year before I moved here, they added one. They added maybe two or three different other cities. I think.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah, so they ended up
so go.
it ended up being like five different Armageddon expos, so five different Armageddon Cup tournaments.
Yeah. That's yeah,
And I won
that
none.
does track. Yeah. um. So yeah, you said you made it to the finals, losing that to James Shaw, but you did get wins over Pirate Burns and Elias, not
Hmm.
that Elias. Not... um. So it says here as well that you made your first appearances for different companies in this year, 2013. You wrestled for, according to Cage Match, New Zealand Wide Pro Wrestling,
And
and
WCW,
also
yeah.
Snake Pit, which is now known as Pro Wrestling South Australia.
Oh, okay. I didn't know they. I mean, yeah. I honestly kept no tabs on that place after being there.
That's fair enough. But the reason why I bring it up though is because you first use your covered name in wrestling, TK Cooper, at the Snake Pit show.
Yes. Probably correct. Yeah.
So my question is,
Um,
like, what is the origins of that name? Like, why did you change from Brother T to TK Cooper?
I never got to pick my name when I started in IPW. They just tagged me up with Lil T and called me Brother T. Like
Oh,
that
okay.
was really.
Okay.
Um, but TK Cooper is more just an amalgamation of like a nickname from school and um, uh, a bloody actor. That's it, Bradley Cooper. That's it.
Okay. You know, I see the likeness. Uh,
Yeah, and it wasn't. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't because I thought I looked like him in like a sort of Rob Van Jean Claude Van Damme sort of thing. I think I just watched. I think I just watched like The Hangover and was like, oh, that's kind of a cool name, Bradley Cooper. And then
yeah,
yeah, but I
that's fine.
think um, again, this probably isn't in your cage match notes, but um, so in 2013, IPW shut down, and then so they had like their last show,
Mm.
and then they came back in like 3 months later, I think in like August or something, or maybe like 4 months later. Sorry. Um, and then is that even true? I don't even know if that's true. Pretty sure it's true.
Hmm.
Like the timeline is true. I don't know if like the well, yeah, I don't know if the timeline is true, but what happened is true. So IPW shut down and then came back, and then they said, oh, like this is like an opportunity for everybody to like reinvent themselves and start again. Nobody did except for me. So
Hey, if they're
um,
one one step ahead of the curve, so
yeah. So as soon as we came back from like the IPW being closed, I was like, well, I just not have this name anymore because I don't want it. And then yeah, so that was basically how changing my name came about.
Mhm.
And then yeah, I guess that must be true that like the first time I used Australia, I guess. I don't know.
Absolutely fair. Um, so I'm gonna do a quick breakaway now, so it's not constantly career based. So take a small
Oh,
momentary break. Um, what are in your free time, if you get much of it, what are the things you like to do most, like your hobbies or like any particular interests?
well, so you'll know one of them. I like streaming on Twitch, I like hanging out with like other. I just like hanging out with the wrestling people and just playing games. Like I mean, because like I would play games on my own anyway, but it's just more fun to do it on Twitch because you just have couple people to chat to, people asking wrestling crazy, similar to this podcast, really. People asking wrestling based stuff. I would have
Hmm.
just come from XYZ on the weekend. People might have been at the show and we didn't talk at merch, or we did talk at merch and there's like even more to talk about,
Hmm.
or or there was like a pay per view that we all want to talk about. Just try to use that as like a hub for everybody to just come and chat about whatever they want, really.
Yeah,
But yeah, just try to give that opportunity for everybody to have some because I again this is a very cheap plug within the podcast to be like, hey, I stream on twitch.tv/POTKC if you didn't already know. But it's not purely just to be like, hey, watch me play this game. It's also like, oh, you like wrestling? Well, you won't believe this. You might not believe this, but I also like wrestling. So I'm happy for people to just come to the chat. We can talk about wrestling. We can talk about my wrestling. We can talk about your wrestling. We can talk about WWE, Impact, blah blah. Same as your podcast. But other than that, um, a while ago, I used to have this thread on my Instagram of out for food with my girlfriend, where we just like I'd always just take a picture of her when we were out for food. People, and then the amount of people that would message me about like, oh, where are you guys going next? Which like the posts themselves never really got any interaction, but it seemed to be such a funny gag that I had to just start loading up, even if we hadn't gone anywhere, if we just went to like Pret or something, I'd have to get a picture just to have something to post,
yeah.
just to keep it alive. But no, I really I've most of my Instagram is like surprisingly not filled up with wrestling. It's more filled up with um accounts that are like top 10 places you have to try in London, or like
Mm.
top 10 secret barbecue point down this alley or whatever. My Instagram's like full of those sorts of places. So I really like it sounds silly. I really just like eating. So I'm mostly broke because I spend all my money on food. So and then other than that, I just like watching sport. So it's been hard to get. Like, I'm not really a football guy at all. Like, I will ironically support Millwall because I think it's funny. I used to work in a pub not far from what's it called? The is it the racetrack? No, that's Wrexham. What the hell is the Den? That's it. The Den they call it. The Millwall football ground. I couldn't tell you a single player from Millwall, but Mambo and I um, are satellite fans of Millwall. We managed to get Big Damo in on it as well. Where like I think he's like a Man U fan, but anytime we see Big Damo, we'll always greet each other with Big Millwall. So if you're out there, the other end of this podcast, and you're thinking, how can I break the ice with Big Damo? Definitely just yell Millwall at him, and great,
Oh,
great. No, he'll love that. He'll love that. So
yeah, absolutely. Um,
But yeah,
so
my favorite sport is like rugby league, and my favorite team are the New Zealand Warriors. But that is just not a story worth getting into. Mind you, me and Rambo got new gear based on their new kit, so I'm actually pretty gassed about that.
oh,
next year. But again, this is all just little tidbits just for me. You guys, you yourself, Dan, won't get the reference. Definitely nobody who listens to your podcast will get it either. But it's not for you. So
That's fair enough. Honestly, like you get in what you can when you can. Why not? What was I say? I was trying to think of a way to break into this, but I've got no real way of doing it. I can't think of a way to do it. So obviously you mentioned the food stuff.
Yeah.
With your girlfriend on Instagram, like, and always like posting these restaurants here, restaurants there, and I was gonna try and use that, but then obviously I was doing some searching into you before the interview. So like you're going through your Twitter or your Instagram, etc. Um, and I came across an acting gig you did back in 2012, 2013, something like that.
It was so the day I filmed that was actually won the tag titles. So
Oh,
spent my
okay.
morning filming, I spent my morning filming that ad, and then went to the venue and won the tag titles. So it was a pretty good day. Pretty
Hmm.
good day.
How much do you remember about that shoot in particular?
Um,
Just out of curiosity.
uh, it was like my first experience um, of like doing anything like acting related. But just being there so early, I feel like we started at like 7 o'clock and then finished at like 3 or 4 in the afternoon. And then obviously the finished product is like a minute long, but
Hmm.
just all of it takes, it's just like such a process to just do all of that.
That's fair enough. Yeah. I couldn't think of a way to get into it. That's why I was a bit awkward trying to bring it up. But
Okay.
so we go back now into the in-ring career again, and we'll take a few breaks in between as well, just so it isn't constantly you look at your book. Um, so 2014,
Mm.
uh, you had a decrease in matches this time around, apparently. So you have 18 matches
Yeah.
with 12 wins and 6 losses. Um, at this point, I didn't go into actual matches and stuff. I just got like wins over the likes of like Brooke Duncan, Liger, not Jushin Liger, Ligress, Jacob Cross, Khan, Taylor Adams, Aaron Henry, who is nowadays known as Hanare in New Japan. So, we also debuted at two new companies at this point as well. Wrestle Revolution,
Mm-hmm.
where you took on the team of, I'm not even sure I can say this on YouTube, but Juicy Balls.
Oh yeah, Mr. Juicy and Wrecking Ball Wilson, I think his name was.
Yeah, it's a very interesting name there.
We were, we were on that show with Shinsuke Nakamura actually.
Ah, nice.
Probably doesn't get mentioned on the case because he wasn't in my match, obviously. But yeah, that show was like a 2 day thing, and Shinsuke was on both shows. It was pretty cool.
That is very cool. Yeah, that's completely on me. I should have clicked into the actual match card of that show rather than.
Now, you never know. Why would you know to do that? It's such a yeah.
um, and then you debuted as well at sign up for me for a loop for a second. Newcastle Pro Wrestling
Hmm.
against the trio of Adam Hoffman, Jack Bonza, and Sean Custom. Um,
One.
Obviously, in my head though, I'm thinking Newcastle. There's an area called Newcastle in New Zealand, like.
No, it's in Australia.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Fair enough. That it just threw me off guard. But that's another company that you debuted for.
Hmm.
Um, and then I've also got here a match that I found of particular interest because I wanted to ask you if you remembered it and what it entailed. Um, so it's a capture the flag, 12-man match. So yeah, there was two teams, the Investment and the Origin. You were part of the
Yeah.
Origin with
Oh
Pirate
yeah.
Burns, Lil T, James Shaw, and Alpha Valentine and Alexander
Hmm.
against the Investments, Kurt Chaos, Jacob Cross, Fury, Pat Shisk, Vinny Dunn, and Aaron Henry.
Yep.
So what was uh, the concept of that, if you remember?
So it's on the show called Rival Turf, which started like I think like just a little bit before I started wrestling. basically it was like the gimmick of the show was it was like a joint show in IPW and the promotion you mentioned just before, NZWPW, where like it was like a versus show, like IPW roster
Mhm.
versus NZWPW roster, and then the main event was normally like a 10-man tag. Uh, yeah, it was always a double ring match where
Okay.
like see one flag on one side, one flag on the other, and the object is of the match is um you have to fight to get the other team's flag in your corner. I can't remember if there's like over the top eliminations or like pinfall and submission eliminations. Um, I can't remember if you can be eliminated from the match or whether it's just like a fight till someone gets the flag. I'm sure you
Mm.
must be able to get eliminated. I'm not sure. I don't remember. And
Oh,
then because I can't remember if it's also like war games staggered entrances too, but I'm not sure about that either. I feel like the rules change depending on what story they wanted to tell.
yeah, that's fair enough. Um, that's quite interesting actually though, because you mentioned it having a double ring setup.
Mm,
Um, so over the years you were in Impact Pro.
yeah.
Did you notice any changes to the way it was set out, or maybe the money invested in it to upkeep and cameras or lights or anything like that?
Yeah, only like marginal things like that where like when I first started it was just like a bit of that like metal truss and then a curtain for the entrance and then I think we got a bit of cash um because we did like a TV bit for this like random channel so we got money from there so they bought like a projector so we could have like a little Tron screen as well so that was kind of cool. And then I assume they just upgraded the cameras because I got no concept of like what difference a camera would make, but I'm pretty sure they used to just have like the little like handheld ones, and then they just grew to like a little bit. Um, I mean, maybe the technology just got bigger. I literally have no concept of it at all. But
Oh, yeah, that's fair enough.
like, small incremental changes definitely like upped the production.
Fair enough. Um, so we go now into the second break I've got here written down, which is another thing I found online that wasn't part of Cage Match or anything like that. You did an interview with Stuff Magazine,
Yeah,
and there's a picture of you at the time as a wrestler. Got big hair, big glasses. Um, but basically, there's a quote here that you say pro wrestling's like any sport, where you could like go into it saying, and you break down a few things. You say like, obviously, you don't go in wanting to injure anyone or want anyone to get hurt, but it happens naturally. Um, so I wanted to ask, are you still of that belief that it's like any sport whatsoever? Like wrestling's more of a combat sport, I would say, like in the same regards to
yeah,
like cage fight in UFC, etc. Like as opposed to something like football or soccer for those who don't say football, like basketball, tennis, etc. Like stuff like that.
yeah. I mean, um, I think it's just like what I was talking about before about like mental, like how I'm just comfortable with the mental preparation because I've just been playing sports all my life.
Hmm.
That I just recognize all the similarities between wrestling and like what you qualify as like a normal sport, just based on what's involved, like the physical elements, the mental elements. Yeah, just like the obviously I've never been to I've never been a sports person to that level of like a professional rugby football player sort of thing. So I can't really touch on like the nutritional or like those really like higher level things. Um, like wrestling, you should slash need to go to the gym. You should slash need to eat like healthy or well. You should slash need to be in like good physical condition because you're falling over on purpose a lot of times. So your body needs to be in a state that like one shoulder tackle or one body slam isn't just gonna like break all your bones.
Yeah.
regardless of, like, I think my main reason, like I said that at the time, I think, obviously, again, it's one of those things that I don't really remember what I said 10 years ago, but I would imagine I probably said it mainly just to move the conversation away from, the stereotypical, like, oh, it's fake
Yeah,
sort of thing, where, like, well, it's not fake, it's predetermined. Like, I definitely do fall, I do get slammed for real, and it does, like, there is, like, give in the ring, but it's not like, it's not a trampoline. I don't just, like, leap back to my feet. So,
yeah. Oh, that's fair. Yeah. Um, but yeah, that was that break I had for that bit. Um,
mhm.
so we move on now to 2015. This is a momental year, I'd say, for you, because at this point you do come to the UK and you do start wrestling in the UK. But at first, you do debut for Melbourne City Wrestling,
Mhm.
which is one of the bigger companies, I believe, in Australia at the moment.
Yeah.
But you do take part in Impact Pro's final show, which was in 2015, where you took on Lil T.
Yeah. Well, that's my final show at
Oh, sorry,
ICW.
that's
It's
what I'm
not
going to
like
say. Sorry, yeah.
promotion's final show. No,
Sorry. Sorry. Misspoke.
no, you're all right. You're all right. Don't worry about it.
But yeah, so was there any sort of again, I say pressure a lot because pressure is just the sort of the best word for it. Like knowing you were leaving after, or like, was it a case of like, was it your last match going into it, or was it like something you said afterwards?
Sorry. What do you mean?
Oh, okay. So when you had the match with Lil T,
Yeah.
did you know at the time that that was your last match in Impact Pro?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I had known that for maybe almost a year. Like, basically, the visa process was uh, so much so that, like, I had to save a bunch of money and had to do a bunch of things and have a bunch of stuff ready so far in advance that,
Mm.
like, I'd already booked my ticket to come to the UK. That I, like, I knew I was leaving in July, in, like, last July sort of thing,
Mm-hmm.
probably. That might
Yeah,
not be, like, completely accurate, but it's like thereabouts.
yeah, that's actually fair. Um, so at this point, though, you get into the UK,
Hmm.
and you're young little TK, lost in the United Kingdom, um, and he finds a company, a little company, not you might know it, Progress Wrestling, where
Yeah.
you wrestled on Potential, which is like their at the time their sort of NXT sort of thing. And you win a tag match against William Eva and Pollyanna.
Yes, sir.
After that, then you went to pardon me, Leeds. You had a couple of matches there in their testing grounds tournament against JG Nash and Dan James.
Hmm.
Um, and then you formed, perhaps to my knowledge anyway, it's one of the more memorable acts of BritWres in the past decade or so, with the South Pacific Power Couple.
Right. Yeah. Oh, what?
Um,
Like the. Mm.
yeah. So are you okay to talk about the Power Couple act or?
Yeah. No, sorry. I wasn't sure if you meant yeah, the power couple or the power trip.
Oh no,
Either
the Power
or.
Couple. Yeah, you and Dahlia.
Either or systems, really. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah. So yeah, you formed that with Dahlia Black, and just sort of started tearing it up, I guess, on the UK scene. um, there was a thing that went out the next year with Sue Strong style that I really recall um of like the promo video that you'd filmed.
Yeah. There was what, with Beyond Gorilla before he became pack famous on AEW.
Mm. Yeah, that's the one. But yeah, so you debuted as well, sorry, for IPW UK as well. Taking on D&D, which was Kieran Donnelly and Danny Duggan, and also Tennessee Honey, that I believe is
Hmm.
Lily Grace nowadays.
Yes, sir. Sus.
Also, you
Humble beginning.
debuted, yeah, humble beginnings, absolutely. Um, you debuted as well at WrestleForce, which is a very well-known UK company nowadays.
Yeah.
Team with Lewis Howley.
I feel like loads of good people have come through the doors of WrestleForce. So
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You team though with Lewis Howley, who is nowadays Elton Prince.
yeah,
So is it safe to say that you were pretty deadly before pretty deadly were a thing?
almost definitely. Yeah. I think he was just called. He was just called Lightning Lewis back then as well. So
Ah, fair enough. Okay, I did not have that. It was just had down as Lewis Howley.
maybe it was Lightning Lewis Howley. Whatever. It's
But yeah, you competed as well at Potential 3, and then also into Endeavour shows as well. Endeavour 13, you competed at. You also debuted for Evolution Wrestling as well against Roy Johnson. Big wavy.
yeah. I remember that being a really long drive. That's the main thing I remember from that trip.
uh, um, pardon me, I've got to really dry throat today. So yeah, 2016 again. You had 28 matches, 13 wins. Um, it was primarily at this point a lot of progress wrestling because I'm assuming that was your base.
Yeah,
Um, and again to compete in Endeavour, a couple of chapter shows, but the main thing I wanted to get to was the Super Strong Style 16 in 2016. Um,
mhm,
you did go out in the first round, unfortunately, but
yeah,
how was that experience of being involved in arguably the biggest tournament in Britain?
yeah. So that was like a different level of because I feel like I was still being treated like I guess like fair enough, but I suppose like when I'd been like wrestling for as long as I had been a part, I think like by that point I would have been in wrestling like 6 years, so it felt like I'd been like in wrestling for a while, but I was still very much getting treated like a trainee. Which, mind you, compared to the other people that were in the tournament, fair enough. Like the names that were in that tournament, like who else? Like there's like Chris Hero, Sammy Callahan, Mandrews, Tommy End,
Mhm.
like so many people who are like so famous now were at the top of like the indie cards at that time, and then I was just also in there getting like an opportunity. And but yeah, so when I was talking about before that I just don't really get like that nervous or anything, but just kind of like being around that atmosphere was like like it's loads of like, really famous people. Like I'm used to being on like the local shows with Lightning Lewis and D&D, and then now I'm on this card with like shit all of these famous people. It's just kind of hard to process.
Mhm.
So that one felt that there was like more pressure because I feel like I'd already been written off so much as just like people would come to see all the other famous people, and I was like people were there to watch my match get out the way
Yeah.
because I hadn't really established myself in 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 progress or anything. Like I just kind of was in progress at the time.
Mhm. That's fair enough. But also 2016 also marks the year. I don't know if you met him at this point already, but this is at least the first recorded point of you fighting uh, Chuck Mambo.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, I probably met him like one of the first couple of weeks I'd moved to the UK because he was just at like a Projo training. So that was that's what that was.
That's fair enough. Yeah. That just was a fun note to make, make a note of really. Um,
Yeah.
but we go on then to 2017. You had 23 matches, 11 wins, 10 losses, 2 draws. Um,
Pulling it back.
Putting it back. absolutely. There is a sizable difference coming up, but we'll get to that. So this is the year that you had your undefeated streak at WWE, sorry.
Yeah, long may I reign.
Long may you reign, indeed. So you were part of the WrestleMania Access tour. This was for the WrestleMania 33. Uh, I think what they call like conventions.
Yeah, because I think, well, I mean, what do I know? I've only been to one WrestleMania, and it was only the one I was involved in. But like, from what I understood, that the Access thing was like something they do every year.
Mm-hmm.
Which I assume is just transitioned into just being an NXT thing, I suppose.
Yeah, I believe
But yeah,
nowadays, yeah, they, yeah,
I've never been before. I've never been since, so I got no idea.
that's fair enough. But you took on the likes of at the time Buddy Murphy, who's now Matthews and AEW, Mustafa Ali as well, who is currently on the independent scene, and Rich Swann, who's also currently in Impact. So you're at this point you're rubbing shoulders with some, you know, some soon to be big names in wrestling.
Yeah,
But how was the experience, if you recall, like being part of that, that being even about being one of the ones chosen to be a part of that?
yeah, it was really cool. It was very humbling. It's just again another especially long day where it was like we had to be up by 5 to get there. Well, it's like an up by 5 to be ready to leave by 6 to get to access for 7 because the the thing starts at 8 or 9. So so it's just like a really jarring, like having to wrestle so early in the morning. Like normally any indie show, you get up, you just do your normal daily routine, then you wrestle in the evening. But you've had like the day to like ease into being like part of the day, like whether
Mhm.
that involves just like just eating and traveling to the show, or like have breakfast, go to the gym, have lunch, go to the show, sort of thing. Just all of those extra bits that are just like, oh, these are my tasks for the day, as opposed to like this situation just being like 5 a.m. Be really tired, like especially because I think if I remember right, it was well. So the first day was the Progress like WrestleMania show,
Mhm.
and then that afternoon we went straight to the WWE thing to do it. Um, and then the very next morning was when we had like the crazy early start. And then that evening, we wrestled on the Progress versus Evolve show.
Mhm.
And then it was a similar like that finished at like midnight, and then we got back to the hotel about like 1 or 2, and then had to be up for 5 to go do the last day of WrestleMania Access, and that was just like so if you're part of WWE, like your like Friday, Saturday, Sunday is quite easy because like those are your 3 like commitments. But then if you're just doing the indie stuff, then it's quite easy because you're just doing Progress and you're just doing Evolve. Those are your commitments. But when you're doing all of it at once, it's like like a blessing and a curse to be like so to be in such a privileged position to be like, wow, I'm involved in all of these things. But then also, yeah, like I'm a human being, and I need an amount of time to sleep so I can function, and I need the sleep especially because the place I need to function is the WWE. So
Yeah. Was there any part of you at the time that maybe thought like, oh, what if someone notices me? Like, what if someone scouts me? Like, what if?
I mean, I guess that was the hope that like I would have been good enough that they would be interested, but um, well, I proved myself wrong, didn't I? Because I'm here doing this podcast, telling you all about it. So
I mean, for what it's worth, I'm glad you're here. But
yeah, no, it was. So it was very cool. It was very cool.
yeah,
I
absolutely.
really can't remember what else. Like it was again like it's just such a blur. Like I kind of like loosely remember a bunch of things, but like not really.
Yeah,
Just walking like backstage, and obviously all of the WWE people are just in catering, and it's just crazy seeing them, all in their gear, but just like at like the cafeteria area, just chilling out, as opposed to like being the superstars that they are.
mm.
Um, but
I suppose,
Yeah,
you know, is there an air of for you, like at the time, was there like an air of like these guys are celebrities?
yeah, 100%. Like it was really intimidating to be around them and kind of just suck it up and try to introduce yourself to as many people as possible because that's just kind of like wrestling culture.
Hmm.
But yeah, just some people it's just a bit overwhelming. So it was good to be um, in the little progress group because we kind of go pod to pod,
Hmm.
like hey, 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 like just kind of all stand there and just kind of like get the hands shook down the line of like, hi, we're all actually come over here to meet you because we're all like really brave.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah. um, so in 2017, you also win your first singles title. Um, albeit it's not necessarily a long time, but it's still regarded as still
Yeah,
your first singles title. So you won the MCW heavyweight title.
we are.
You beat Dowie James for it.
We did. We did.
Unfortunately, you did lose it to just usually on the same night.
Almost immediately. Yep.
Yeah. How was that? Was that like a cash in sort of scenario, or was that like a tournament thing, or?
I'd gone home. My 2-year visa had run out, and then we got like 3 bookings with MCW. So the story was basically I came over, I wrestled one guy, I beat him. I got on the mic, I was like, "Hey, I've just come back from the UK. I'm the man now. I should get a title shot right away." The champ's like, "No way, dude. You got to earn it just like everybody else." I was like, "Screw that." In the main event, the champ, Dowie James wrestles. I can't remember who. After he wins, I come out and I just blast him with a chair. And then he's like, "Hey, you've pissed me off. You know what you said about a title match? Okay, you can have it." And then the next show, I wrestle him, and it goes to a non-contest because I think it was like a ref bump, and then I cheated to win, and then the second ref was like, "You win," and then the first ref was like, "Hey, I saw you cheat," and I was like, "Shut up!" Bam, and then I just punched him, and I just took the belt and ran off. And then the third match was like, okay, oh, I don't know if it was like 2 out of 3 falls or something, or whether it was just like I can't remember what. Basically, wrestled the champ there, and I just beat him. Obviously, I cheated, but I beat him. I became the champ, and then Mr. Juicy had like one or had like a cash in. Um, he'd won it. I don't know at some point in the year,
Yeah,
and yeah, then he just cashed in and beat me straight away. So
fair enough. But 2017 also marks, as I said already, with WrestleMania Access, your trip to the US.
mhm.
But you did go back to the US as well in the same year. With
Yeah,
Progress, fighting the likes of Dave Mastiff. You also fought Axel Deata Jr., who is nowadays known as Ludwig Kaiser. And you also fought perhaps the most dominant Progress champ of all time, Walter.
what? I don't remember doing any of that.
Let me double check. I'm gonna just cut this bit.
Actually,
But yeah, so moving swiftly on to 2018. We had
and you have to. There's no matches after that. So
71 matches, so a massive spike
hell yeah.
from 23 to 71, practically like more than tripling it. Um, 21 wins though out of 71, 50 losses.
Just getting back into the swing of things, you know. So,
I did make a note here that it was the year that you really started to get about. Uh, you were going all over the UK. You're occasionally going back to New Zealand. Also going to Europe. As well, going to places like Italy.
yeah, I mean, you by the sounds of things would know better than me, but um, I couldn't tell you what Italian promotion it was, but I'm sure the minute you say it, I will remember it. So
Let me find it. I didn't write it down because I'm professional like that. Where's it gone?
But I do remember my pitch basically for most promotions being like, "Hey, I broke my leg, but I'm ready to go now. So if you'd like to use me, it'd be very exciting for your promotion." And that worked in most places, so that's
Ah,
cool.
that is cool. Yes. I cannot find it.
Oh,
Regions.
you know what it is? It's Rising Sun. Rising Sun Pro Wrestling, I'm pretty sure.
Ah, thank you. That probably is right. Um. Okay, Rise Sun might not be 2018. No, it's 2019. That's why. I'm professional, I promise. It's just
You'll fix it in post, I'm sure.
it'll be sorted. So so you were wrestling again in the US as well. Taking on the likes of Kid Lycos, Mustache Mountain. Uh, but you did team with a young Swerve
Yeah, that was cool.
with Shane Strickland. Um,
Hell of a replacement. Yeah, really good.
so the question I want to ask really is: was there any were you why was you doing so much more matches between 2017 and 2018? What because you wanted more work or because you had to or
I definitely never wanted less work in
well no of
any of
course
those
yeah.
years. I don't really know. I don't really know what happened. I feel like we were right in the middle of the boom period, so loads of just like random promotions just started to exist out of nowhere.
Hmm.
Loads of people were just jumping on the hype, so there was just like a lot more like opportunities to like for instance, like I don't think I ever went back to Empire Wrestling, Wrestling League, um, Apollo Championship Wrestling. I don't think I ever wrestled on ever again. Um, Anarchy. That was like a one. So like loads of just like one offs I did
Yeah.
sort of thing. So just loads of like. I mean, I assume they ran more than one show. Like just loads of promotions where I just kind of came and did one thing and then went away again. So
Yeah, that's,
it was
that's
just
fair
it
enough.
was just it was more like more opportunities for everybody to get on.
Hmm.
Like I feel that that's where like wrestling is trending at the moment. Well, no, it's a mix of like there's definitely more wrestling, but it's way more like localized. Like um, for most places, like there's a lot of London-based wrestling for London-based wrestlers. There's a lot of like northern-based wrestling for northern-based wrestlers, sort of thing.
Yeah,
And then if you're lucky, you get on like a Rev Pro Sheffield, or a Southampton Sheffield, or a Birmingham Progress, or like the when the London shows go somewhere else, you are just attached because you're on the roster.
hmm, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I think in where were we? 2018, 2017, yeah,
2018,
2018.
yeah,
That the reason I was so busy was because it was just like there was just more wrestling to wrestle. So
that's fair enough. So, is it more a case of you reaching out to them, or were they reaching out to you?
a mix, definitely a mix of like you try to get out more places, and then the more places you get to, the more you get seen, and the more you get seen, more places are like, hey, we've seen you more places. How about you come be on our show? So
Yeah,
it's
that's fair
all
enough.
it's all reactive to. It all trickles down from one thing.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Um, so we go on then to 2019. This is where you went to Milan. You had
That's how.
Civic.
That's. I mean, that's what makes the show really.
2019. You had 76 matches again, according to Cage Match. 30 wins and 45 losses.
Well, I'd say by this point, cage match is probably spot on because it's like all of the wrestling is based where the cage match people are looking, as opposed to all of the mystery shows I was doing in New Zealand that they had no idea about.
Yeah. Um. So at this point already, you started teaming with Mambo, but not as the team that we know you as now. You were a
Yeah.
team called Escaping the Midcard, which is
Mm.
a phenomenal tag name. Um. You're competing in other companies in the UK, so like FFW, Breed Pro, North. Um. But as well, I did want to mention that you actually won the Breed Pro Championship in
Yeah. So I
2019.
think that's another reason that I might have been as busy as I was last year and that year. because places like Breed and places like Riptide had like a whole year's worth of shows booked in,
Mhm.
and like between us, like me, Spike, and Mambo, we were booked for like all of like we were locked in for all of those shows. So that's like so if a company's running 12 shows a year and you got two companies doing that, that's like 24 shows confirmed. Then you just kind of dot in the progresses, the Rev Pros, the whatever else is on, and try and then just bulk out the year really. So I think yeah, pretty. Also, this was maybe Soul had just started too. I think so. Like they were also similar, like London based pre Purpose
Yeah.
before Purpose became Purpose. It was Soul. So
Yeah.
hopefully, when Purpose goes away, there's another one called like Meaning Pro Wrestling or something. Feeling Feelings Pro.
Mission Pro Wrestling.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that was 2019. They're making strides, obviously. And wrestling is definitely in a in a boom period. Wrestling, especially in the UK at least. Anyway, you've got companies coming all over the place. As you said, you've got Riptide. There's Progress already. There's Rev Pro. What they're doing good work as well.
Yeah.
Souls are starting up. You got smaller ones coming in as well. There's like oh, what I call was it Good Wrestling as well? They were around.
That's it. Yeah, Good was hanging about.
So yeah, like there's a massive boom period, and of course then we go into 2020. What can go wrong? 17
Have about
matches.
I was gonna say have about as many matches in 2020 as I had in the whole first year I ever wrestled.
So yeah, according to Cage Match, 17 matches, 6 wins. Um, this is of course because of the global pandemic that hit, and a lot of shows closed down. A lot of shows, some companies even went out of business because of the pandemic. And the question I asked at this point to everyone I've interviewed is, how did it affect you, the pandemic? Because it affects everyone it affects everyone in a lot of different ways. So I was wondering what your recollection is of how it affected you.
Um,
Obviously, if you're comfortable talking about it.
yeah, I don't know. I was lucky that I was living in a house share with my friends already. So when everything got locked down, we were just like a bunch of mates hanging out anyway. So I was lucky in that respect.
Hmm.
Um, so always had company, always had like actual physical contact with people. Um, so yeah, it was okay for me. Like we like obviously got way more into communal board games and bits and pieces like that to just kind of pass the time. But then me and Mambo also filmed the what's it called, the social distancing match. It's on YouTube if you want to go look it up. It's pretty funny. Um, Put it out on my birthday in the lockdown. There was a part two that didn't get as much traction, where Mambo fights Eddie Dennis, but it's still good. It's still good.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, uh, mostly in the pandemic, we were lucky that I say we um, that Kara and his partner were running the Reset Lab like fitness thing. So I mean, it wasn't too intensive. It was more kind of like just um, a mum's social group just to have a chat and like do a bit of yoga together, really on
Yeah.
Zoom. That was kind of like a nice communal thing for everybody to do 3 times a week, just to have some semblance of like schedule. But for the most part, like I did pretty much nothing. Like by the time the world started opening back up, I just went back to New Zealand for a couple of months. So
Yeah, that's absolutely fair enough. Yeah. Um, so we move on from 2020 because we don't want to linger around there. And we go on to 2021. So at this point, we're obviously still facing some of the repercussions of lockdown, but
yeah,
Progress have started doing shows again. They've started doing their closed set shows.
right.
And this, I should say 40 matches for 2021, 22 wins, 18 losses. Um,
Come on.
But this is actually the, at least on screen, official forming of Sunshine Machine,
Mhm.
which is
Yeah,
obviously what.
that is just objectively true. We wanted to change our name after the pandemic. I mean, yeah, similar to back in New Zealand when IPW shut down and reopened. That just took the opportunity that the pandemic gave us a chance to reset everything, kind of reset the name and the mindset and the goal. Because I feel like ETM was too much of like a jokey name. And to be honest, we never really intended to become a tag team. It was just the name of our vlog, so
Mhm.
it was just kind of a throwaway. It wasn't that important. But it was only after the pandemic we like Mambo and I were both like, I think we'd actually be a pretty sick tag team. So maybe we should just like be a bit more serious about it. What can we change our name to? And we had originally called our finisher the Sunshine Machine, which was like a play on the hell they called FTR's Shadow Machine.
Yeah.
Not a similar move at all. Like it's not like the same at all. It's just purely because I think people used to call. I mean, at least on Twitter, at least people used to call Mambo like the Sunshine Prince. So I think I got lumped in there just by proxy of like, oh, well, they must be the Sunshine Princes. Not necessarily. It wasn't like our team name. Just like that's just how people described us. Like, oh, they're just like the happy guys. So then move stuff around. The move becomes rather than the Shadow Machine becomes Sunshine Machine, and then in the gap we just like, what if we just made that our team name?
Yeah,
And
valid.
that's much how it's everybody's allowed to interpret what it means
Yeah.
themselves, and I think most people get it.
Yeah.
So easy.
That's fair enough. So if he's the Sunshine Prince,
Yeah,
does that make you the machine?
I suppose so. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm the one that keeps the cogs turning here at Headbutt Studios, pumping out the merch. Getting all these bloody tie dyes out the door. When Pins and Knuckles. Obviously, this is going to go out by the time they've delivered it, but it's late, mind you. So I'll use my platform here on your podcast to have a big whinge about Pins and Knuckles, who we placed the order. What like start of November? It's now mid December, and they messed it up as well. So they delivered it, and then they sent us T-shirts instead of long sleeves. And then there was a bunch of other T-shirts. They were like, "Hey, look, they didn't pass our quality check, so we're going to send you some more, and we're gonna throw out the botches. We're going to send you some more." And I was like, "Okay, great." 2 weeks ago, we received the delivery, and it's been 2 weeks since then, and we're still waiting for the things that they messed up. I assume you normally, for like customer service, you would think that it would be like a next day job. It would be like highest priority is like we've messed these guys order
Yeah.
up. We no Number one, we've got it wrong, and number two, we threw out some because we were like, oh, they didn't tick the quality check. Fair enough. The second one I can forgive more than the first, but then just to be like, okay, so we're gonna send those out to you ASAP.
Mhm.
It's been 2 weeks. What's going on? Like, why didn't it come the very next day? I,
Yeah.
I realized like probably more factors into this of like how printing works and how delivery works that it's probably just impossible to do. But it shouldn't take 2 weeks. It shouldn't. We've got people waiting on pre-orders, and I just feel guilty that I can't send it to them. So, and it's not my fault. That's the other thing. It's not my fault. It's completely out of my hands.
Yeah, I mean, you would
It's
think that
Christmas.
they would at least, like they'd at least send some sort of update to say that, oh hey, just so you know, we can't send that out straight away. Like,
They are really good in terms of communication. Like they always respond like a couple of hours later, being like, "Hey, this is what's going on." But the actual like service process of this whole thing is infuriating.
yeah.
But what can I do? Hey ho, Mambo. Moving on. I'll let it go.
Alright, TK. But yeah, as I said, 2021 was mainly just a lot of the year for like tag wrestling and just sort of getting back into the norm because we're still recovering from that. And I think 2021, I think it was July that they started getting the audience back in to the ballroom.
Yeah. So the first show. Oh no. 2022. January 2022 was the first Progress show with fans, but
Oh
like
shit! Okay.
August 2021 was the first Rev Pro with fans. The cockpit one we didn't do, but I think it was like Bristol was the first Rev Pro with fans. Like Social Distance was the first show me and Mambo did
Mhm.
with fans, I believe.
Yeah, that sounds about right. According to Cambridge, anyway. um, so yeah, we move on now to 2022. So this is just last year. 65 matches, 36 wins, 27 losses, two draws.
It's come on,
And it
up the
makes
wins.
it makes sense given the contents of last year. Um, so this is the year that you essentially, I want to say, like solidified the Sunshine Machine name. So you and Mambo, uh,
Yeah,
becoming not only Rev Pro champion, so Rev Pro Tag champion, I should say. Sorry, you also became Progress Tag champions at the same time. I didn't do a thorough research into this, but I believe you might be the first team to do that. Like, just hold them at the same time.
I think second team.
Okay.
Aussie Open. Aussie Open did it when they had like literally every belt. I think they had like WXW, Attack, Fight Club, Progress, and Rev Pro all at once.
Oh, that's fair enough. Yeah, yeah, it makes sense that they did it as well. But yeah,
They had the two. They had the quintuple. So kind of a. Are you a Simpsons fan at all, Dan?
I know of it. Yeah.
You know of the Simpsons. Okay, good. Do you know the episode? You know the episode where Homer tries to be an inventor?
No.
Oh, damn. Okay, so for anyone who's watching though or listening, you might be a fan of The Simpsons. You might get this reference. So I'll tell Dan anyway because he's not going to get it. But for the sake of people listening or watching who might get this reference, so in the episode, Homer puts up I think it's Alexander Graham Bell. I'm not sure. And he's basically comparing himself to him of like how many inventions I need to make to get to be considered as good as Alexander Graham Bell. And then by the time like he gets to the museum, and it turns out Alexander Graham Bell has the same thing but like for Da Vinci. So like everyone's always chasing like the other big name sort of thing. So like the equivalent here is like if me and Mambo are like X tag team and we've done two, we won the Rev Pro and Progress spots and we're like, oh yeah, and then you just look and into the past of Brit Rest and you just see Aussie Open just like that many steps ahead of us have already done it. So I was like, oh, God. But no, they're obviously still super good at it. I think I would imagine, I don't know, check the wiki, I guess. I think we held the belts longer, defended them more times than Aussie Open, but I don't know.
Yeah, fair enough.
Undefeated against Aussie Open, actually. 2-0.
Oh, there you
go. 3-0, actually. Twice at Rev Pro, once at Wrestling Resurgence.
Nice. But so the reigns themselves are ridiculous. So your Rev Pro reign was from January to October. You held the belt for again. I don't know. I don't know how accurate this is because it's the cage match thing. But I
think by this point, cage match is probably spot on.
287 days. You were Rev Pro champions. And as for Progress, you held them from June 2022 until May this year.
Yeah.
And that was just shy of a year at 358 days.
Pretty cool.
Very cool. But I wanted to ask essentially, how was it like essentially being one of the faces of BritWres? Because you're holding, both of the biggest BritWres companies' tag titles at the same time.
Yeah, I guess you never really like know you're like the face of anything at any point in time. I mean, I would say that purely based on my experience of like I never felt like we were. Would I say we're like the best team in the country? Yeah, 100%. But would I say we're like the face of BritWres or anything? I don't know. If I had to think about it, I would probably find a reason to get on board with it. I guess it's just more of like a weird, like it's unsettling to be like, yeah, no, we are the best. We are the most important. Like that's just arrogant. It might be true, but I don't know. Because wrestling is so subjective, it's hard to find an objective truth of who is number one. Like, well, I mean, like I'd argue, at the time, who's been Rev Pro champ in the time we were champs? Will, RKJ, Michael Oku. And then you didn't at the time, you didn't see any of them in Progress. And then for the flip, who was Progress champ, Kara, Jonathan Gresham, and Spike. And then at the time, you didn't see them in Rev Pro.
Yeah.
So you could argue, you've got your localized champs, and then you've got your your multiversal Forbidden Door. Forbidden Door is probably a more wrestling
Yeah.
related term. Forbidden Door champs, where we're actually champs everywhere, and then we're on both shows. If we're being fair, Perception is Rev Pro and Progress are the two biggest companies in the country, right? And then you've got your Michael Oku's on one side, you've got your Spike Gervais on the other, and then you've got your Sunshine Machines in both running, as champs on both shows. So you and the listeners of HCW deduce what you want from that information. I'm not saying we're the best. It's just the facts say that. So
Yeah. I love how that's very, very diplomatic answer. Like, if you want to, if you want to say that is the case, then by all means that is the case. But
yeah, I mean, I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you what's what. I'm just going to present to you the facts as they exist, and you interpret that how you want.
Fair enough. But just for crystal clarity, I do probably believe that you and Mambo are probably the tag team of Brit West at the moment, and two of the faces, like I think two of like not just you and Mambo, like I mean like among Brit West as a whole, like right now you and Mambo are two of the faces of that. Because if you ask someone and they'll say Sunshine Machine, they'll say Cooper, they'll say Mambo, they'll say.
Yeah, I would hope that our contributions to Bret Rest are enough that we have left some sort of like legacy. Because obviously the dream beyond this now is to get signed and also achieve great things and like make enough money to look after myself, look after girlfriend, look after my family, just like pay it all forward and give it all back to my friends that have like helped me on my journey to wherever I go if I get there, which is like hopefully it's not an if, hopefully it's a when,
Yeah.
But that is the dream now that I have done enough in Brit Rest to justify any company giving me a contract because they're aware of like how good I am as a wrestler. How good I am as a wrestler has meant that I have won X amount of championships. Because again, even though the winning isn't real, the making you a champ is emblematic of how good you are as a performer. That people want you to represent their company.
Yeah, absolutely.
More so than just being on the roster. So that's like So I know you didn't ask, but like that's kind of how I feel about winning championships now. Like obviously, if you peel the curtain far back enough, we all know wrestling's just for pretend. It's all very fun, but like in order to progress, you need to win the championships. You need to get on the PWI 500, which again, it's a fake list about fake fighters, in a fake magazine. Like it's not, none of it is like real, but it is meaningful in a way that it shows that your contributions to the business, to the industry as a whole, are being recognized. So it's important to get in there, even though personally I don't care. Like it has no bearing. It has no bearing. Like it has no bearing on like whether I do wrestling or whether I give up or whether I have fun or whether I sell merch. Like that sort of stuff. It has no bearing on that. Like I'm gonna love wrestling regardless of if I'm 501 or number one. It doesn't, it doesn't matter at all. Like,
yeah,
that was really sorry, random tangent rant.
No. Don't apologize. It's absolutely fine.
Cut that from the edit if you want. I don't mind.
If anything, it's a good clip for the YouTube Shorts. If anything, like.
Oh, there you go.
But no, honestly, I think it's good thing that you have that sort of mindset, so you don't have any, what's the word? Like any sort of like fantasies or any sort of like fake, like realities and stuff like that.
I have goals. I have dreams. I have things I want to achieve. But I try to stay as grounded as possible and try to stay as realistic as possible. That like can I, like, for instance, can I get to AEW? Probably. How do I get there? Well, I've met QT Marshall. I've spoken to him. He said email me anytime. Blah blah blah. So like there is like a, obviously he's left now, so that's, but like, just for instance, there are pathways for all of these things that like are that never used to be possible, that are possible for me now that I'm at the level of like performer I am at now. Like when I first moved over here from New Zealand, would I have been ready to do WrestleMania Access? Probably not. Would I have been a good representation of progress if I had won the tag titles when I first moved over here? Probably not. It's all just like time based. It's all like, again, the 70 however many matches you said I had in 2018 or 28 or 2019, even like all of those, like jumping it up from whatever you said it was before, like 20 something. How many more matches I had was that much more experience that I wouldn't have got staying in New Zealand, or staying at the rate I was going, staying at that like 20 match rate you were saying. Like all of that has contributed to me being as good as I am now at being able to craft like exciting, fun matches. And I definitely think my speciality in my brain anyway can just process putting tag matches together better than I can do singles matches. Not to say I can't have a good singles match. Again, who knows if they watch or listen to your podcast, but I definitely think Mambo and I should be in Super Strong Style next year. I think we've done. I've personally, I mean, I say this with asterisks. I've personally had enough of the ladder matches at Strong Style because they just are too painful and aren't worth the double wage that they pay us for the danger money. I'd rather just have 4 singles matches and win the whole tournament and beat Spike or whoever's the champ by that point, because I'm pretty sure I could do it. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you heard it, Progress. The challenge set. um, so it's funny you mentioned, fake lists, fake magazines, and fake rankings.
Well, obviously I say fake being horrible, but it's more meaningful than that. It's like,
Yeah, no,
I realize
obviously they have
the
a
people who write is very meaningful, and I imagine if I got in the top 10, I'd actually be like, wow, this is really important. I feel like if I got a really good ranking, I'd be like, wow, this is a big deal. But I was in like, I think I got like the best year I ever was a part of the PWI. I think just before I broke my leg, I was like number 127.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good for. I think I'd been like in the UK for 2 years at that point. I jumped all the way from like non-existence to 127, something like that.
Yeah, that's pretty damn good. But all I say was, so you're part of the PWI top 100 tag teams. So last year you were 24th.
Don't talk to me about this, Dan. This is upsetting. We won more titles this year.
Yeah.
Than we did last year, and somehow we went down. We achieved more things this year, and we got more rank.
I find it bizarre how the data range that they take from would assumably be involved in this year's rankings, and that would involve yours and Mambo's long tag reigns.
Yeah. So like we would have won the tag titles in the last like what is it measurement? I don't know what the how they describe the period of time is. But then by the time the next one to come around, we would have still been the champs. How does that not factor in? Whatever.
I don't know. But I was going to ask you how it was being involved in that, like being part of the the top 25 last year and somehow the top 40 this year. But
yeah, so I mean, both years. I think it's just cool to get acknowledged. So, like last year, I think it was only us and the 0121 that were even on the only 2 British teams on the entire list.
Yeah.
So that was really cool to just get a shout out to Brit Rest that like there are eyes in this direction. We just all got to keep working hard.
Mm-hmm.
And it did seem unfair that they'd left off like Lacos Gym, Smoking Aces, Greedy Souls, just other teams that had also been like grafting. Obviously, in the last year, me and Mambo had been like the faces of tag team wrestling, so it made sense that like we would get a shout out. But it did seem like other team, like we were only good because we'd wrestled such good teams, so we needed to get more recognition for the other team. So I'm glad this year it was like us, Subculture, Greedy Soul, Smoking Aces, Boisterous Behavior, Lycos Gym, like way more representation of our scene in the whole 100.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
I
Um,
was talking to my I was talking to my uncle. He's not a wrestling fan at all. But I was just telling him like, oh yeah, last year I was on this because he was asking like, how's the wrestling thing going? Like, is it actually moving in any kind of particular direction? And I was like, well, I hope so. But again, I'm trying to be realistic about it. But at the same time, like we were on this list last year, like me and my friend,
mhm.
top 100 teams in the whole world, and we only got 24. It's nothing. It's nothing impressive like top 10 or anything. It's just
Yeah,
24. And he was like 24 in the entire world. Like he way more contextualized it for me of like as an outsider being like, so in the entire world of tag teams, you were the 24th best on the planet. And I was like, yeah, okay. When you say it like that, it does seem like a
yeah,
much bigger. But yeah, and obviously same with this year being 39th, I think.
yeah,
It's still in context, it seems like a really it's still an impressive achievement. Obviously, the higher you get, the more impressive it is. But when you think of where we are in like Brit Rest and how like Americanized and how American centric those lists are, that you have
mhm.
to like really achieve something like big, or be one of like the few Brit Rest guys to be on like PWG or GCW. You know, like, to be one of the ones that like gets to um, get more eyes on you because you're part of like an American promotion. That's the
Yeah,
only way you ever seem to. That's the only way they ever justify in the write up of like, I haven't seen it myself, but I assume like the Michael Okus, the Leon Slayers, their write up has like nothing to do with what they've done over here. It's like made debut for GCW. It's like that was their big. That's why they're so high up the list. Not because they were North Champ or Rev Pro Champ. It's because they did 2 matches in wrestled in a 10-man tag against Chris Jericho, which like I feel there's more of like a bucket list thing than it is like loads of people have wrestled Chris Jericho now in the world, but it's a big deal for Michael Oku personally, but not it shouldn't necessarily count towards his like PWI ranking because like
mhm.
how many people in the world have wrestled Chris Jericho? Loads. Anyway, that's I feel like yeah, the American writers who write the American list just are like it's a very big deal that you wrestled him. Well, it is, but like he's done so many more cool things that deserve
Yeah,
like to be recognized.
yeah, and not to get too far off track, but I do feel like Chris Jericho is that sort of guy that everyone has not everyone, but like most people are facing nowadays. So he's obviously still a big name in
Yeah,
wrestling, but it's
on
just
TV, on TV every week, people wrestle him all the time.
yeah. Um, but yeah, that I mean honestly, like, and then we move on to this year. Uh, this year has essentially been a continuation from last year. Really, yourself and Mambo have been killing it, and unfortunately, you did drop the Pro Wrestling titles. But you did pick up 2 new titles fairly recently.
Yeah,
So you are one half, obviously, of the Kamikaze Pro Tag Team Champions, as well
yeah.
as the GWF Tag Team Champions. GWF is the German Wrestling Federation, for those who are unaware. Yourself and Mambo had beaten. I'm gonna say this wrong. Uh, Blutsbruder.
Better than I would have pronounced it, but that's them. Yeah, Bad Bones and American.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, is this any different from carrying the Progress and Rev Pro titles, carrying Kamikaze and GWF titles?
Um, well, I think the GWF ones are a thing all in of themselves. Like it's our first time carrying international championships. I mean, obviously, like they consider Progress and Rev Pro, I think, to be like world titles because they've been defended. Blah blah blah. But to actually be again, it comes down to like the trust and the what it represents more than the being the champs thing of just um, that was our third match in GWF, and they decided that it would be good if we became the champs. Which again, I'm not sure if it's like a political thing because RevPro and GWF are linking up in August next year, so they might have wanted some. Mind you, they didn't know we were or weren't booked for RevPro, so that might just be me being cynical for no reason. But what I was gonna say is like maybe they just wanted some like a GWF presence on the RevPro shows, so they had us win them to take them back. But then that's what I'm saying, where like the GWF guys don't know our RevPro dates, so we might have not even been booked.
Yeah.
So maybe that blows that whole theory out the water. Who knows? But yeah, no, it is like it does feel very cool to be internationally recognized as a good team, and I hope it contributes to more good stuff. I know we're booked quite a few times for different promotions in Germany. I know we're booked quite a few times, like the whole year next year for Body Slam in Denmark.
Cool.
So hopefully we can win their tag titles next year too. And then yeah, wherever else we go from there, hopefully we'll go. Maybe this will be the first time Mambo and I will dip our toe into North America and maybe go to Canada or just try to go to America itself if we can. Well, if we can sneak in, or if we can just get a visa and do it legally, who knows? We'll see what happens.
I mean, if you guys can get on a certain company that I've been communicating with Canada, that'd be great. They're called Barry Wrestling. They're quite a small company, but they're Canadian and they have tag belts.
Well, they already tick all the criteria I need.
But no, guys, Barry Wrestling. If you're someone watching this, then get in touch with TK or Mambo and get such a machine put on your show.
Let's do it. I feel like it has to happen now. We've spoken it. Let's manifest it. Let's get it cooking.
Exactly. Get a little present going as well. Why not? But yeah, that essentially brings an end to the in-ring career of this. So there's not much left now. So we can go about our days soon. I've essentially got a couple more questions, and that will be it, really. So, over the years in your career, have you preferred to play the role of the face or the heel?
Hard to know, because I feel like the amount of time I've played heel in wrestling has led to me now being a face who can just kind of get away with anything, and people just go, that's just how he is. So it kind of just plays more into my personality now. But then also, I like being a face because it means I can more justifiably do all of the like high flying moves that I like to do. Like that's the wrestling I grew up watching and like what I really enjoyed. Like the cruiserweight wrestling. I didn't realize that like being 6'2" and kind of a chunky Samoan guy, I'm gonna end up being too heavy and too big to ever really be considered a cruiserweight. So teaching myself on my trampoline how to like backflip and stuff has contributed to like my in-ring style of like mostly kicks, mostly flips. So doing that as like a babyface just makes more conceptual sense. Obviously, there's ways to do it as a bad guy where you can do like, but it's harder to justify doing like. Pac manages to walk the line pretty well as being a bad guy who does like the most insane corkscrew shooting star press as his finishing move, but still be a bad guy. But it's definitely harder to do like like a 450 splash or a shooting star with like a scowl on your face to be like, I did that at your expense. Whereas like as a babyface, it's much easier to just be like, come on everyone, you want to see me do the cool flip?
Yeah. Absolutely,
so, so I'll have to say babyface for that reason, really, because I just like doing all the flips.
That's fair. Yeah, I think there's an argument to be made that it's a lot harder nowadays to be a heel than a face, because it's like you said, like there's a fine line between being a heel that is being the heel and that's it, and being a heel that everyone hates. Because for example, take like Spike Gervais, for example, in Progress. are very few people I think that actually like him. Like I think he has a lot of that the heel hatred because people genuinely hate the character.
Yeah, I feel like some people just don't really understand that like you don't actually hate him as a person. You just hate how he performs because he does his job so well, and
Yeah,
you don't get it.
that's why we're calling you out, wrestling fans. But yeah, so another question that we got here was, if you were able to go back in time to when you first started wrestling, what is one piece of advice you'd give your younger self?
um, I don't know because the first thing that came to mind was uh, eat more and get bigger quicker because the one of like the first like not rumors but like the first like sort of like chats that was happening behind my back was that I was too skinny and that I was basically I didn't deserve to be on the show because I didn't look like a wrestler. It's like I
Mm.
was like 17, 18 when I first obviously like I was just like a teenager when I started, but I didn't really go to the gym or anything.
Mhm.
The gym was just kind of scary, so I didn't go. And it was only when I started going to uni, when I started like when my friends started taking me to the gym, that I really started to kind of fill out or anything. So that was only when I was like 20, 21. And then obviously just grown up and become my own person, then just the gym's become more of a comfort thing for me now. But I think like if I told myself that then I wouldn't have gone on the journey that I live now. So I know how that would be helpful. I really only like maybe stunt my own mental growth by saying that. But that was the first thing that came to mind.
Yeah,
Um,
I think one of the key things though is to like look at those people who were saying things behind your back then, and look where
yeah,
you are now. It's like,
yeah. I mean, that's pretty much what I'm saying. That uh, like the comments at the time didn't really affect me because I was like, oh, I can't really help it. Like I just like I'd always been like a little skinny uh twig when I was a kid. Like I was always just really thin. Like I think it was like quite unfair because like Polynesian food is quite like filled with like coconut cream, saturated fat, like loads of, like and then like loads of like people, like loads of Samoan people, loads of like Maori people, loads of just Polynesian people in general are just like heavier set just because of like the type of food that's in our culture. Like um it's just so calorie dense.
yeah,
But like I think I got like my dad's strength, but my mom's like metabolism, where like he was like quite a big dude, but my mom is like obviously just a little petite lady. Where like I think like for the longest time I've always joked I have like a really petite girl's figure. So but I just can't like as much as I try the size just doesn't come on. Obviously it's just more of like how I see myself as opposed to how maybe you or anyone who watches wrestling like, oh, he's in pretty good shape, but then just have that like body dysmorphia with myself, just like, oh, I look like a piece of shit. Oh, I suck. Like, like I don't look how I want to look. Blah blah blah. But that's just toxic body dysmorphia. So don't worry about that. Like,
it's not saying that if like, people do it on a regular basis.
that's just what wrestling does to you. It's not a big deal. It's just a side effect of being of success that you just have like chronic body dysmorphia. But no, we can get on with it. But
Yeah, we laugh and we cry and we just hide ourselves
yeah,
away.
if you don't laugh, you'll only cry. So let's laugh.
um, so we have one more question here as well, which is
Hit me.
at this current moment in time, what is your favorite wrestling move? Whether it's something you hit or something that you've seen someone else do.
My favorite wrestling move I've seen is that I mean I don't know how much AEW you watch, but Penta recently has been doing this crazy like F5 sidewalk slam thing that I've just never seen before, and he just kind of like did it out of like it's not like I feel like most moves I've like seen in my life of just like oh yeah I've seen a clip of that before, I've seen that on Twitter,
Mhm.
but he just did it on I can't remember when. I feel like do you know what I'm talking about?
I've
The
seen it.
move I'm
Yeah,
talking about?
I think it's a couple of weeks ago, did it?
Slam thing. It doesn't make any sense, but it's awesome.
Yeah.
And obviously, the minute I saw it, I was like, probably do that. But then I just thought, like, it's just gonna look. It's obviously gonna look like I just watched AEW before the show. So, like,
Yeah.
and then yeah, because I think like that day it ended up being like a clip on one of those like just one of those Twitter accounts that posts like cool wrestling moves, and then when I saw it on there, it had like 5,000 likes, and I was like, okay, people have probably seen it, so I probably can't sneak it in as like my own thing. So I'll leave that alone. Otherwise, my most favorite move that I do is definitely the shooting star, because I
Yeah.
had to teach myself to do it at Play Fight. Because like ever since I started wrestling, I always wanted to be able to do it, but it was just too scary in my head. Like the concept of how to jump forward and do a backflip and not land like right on the turnbuckle and like kill myself or something.
Yeah.
So so the process of like luckily Clara Noir and Claire who run Play Fight just have like all of the gymnastics equipment. So for the longest time I just had like two squishy mats and I would just try to like jump from one to the other and do a shooting star onto it, and then that's pretty much how I built my confidence up. Then I just built the layers like one higher than the other until it was kind of like top rope to wrestling ring equivalent, and then did that into squishy mats, and then finally took it up to the top rope. And even then, even after I practiced it so many times, I was still like, I might die. So, um, I think like I only just started doing it last year, because that was like the only time I taught. By the time I taught myself how to do it,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, it is just like I've always like even back in New Zealand, like the most fun thing to do in the summer was to go with my cousin to like um I guess you guys would call it a Lido, but it's just like an outdoor pool with a diving board.
Yeah.
And it was like maybe like a 10-foot diving board, and we'd always just do like wrestling moves off the top, like always just hitting swantons and always just trying to do like moonsaults off of it, or just like running shooting stars off of the diving board um into the pool. So that was like pretty much how I spent a lot of my summers back when I was a kid. So
Yeah.
um so yeah, that has just been my like dream move to be able to do. So now that so and then even when I learned to do it, I was like, okay, I'll only do it like for like really big matches. Like I'll save it as like my super move that I do if they kick out of like this, and this. But now it's just ended up being in every match because I just like doing it. So
Fair enough. Um, so it's funny you mention that actually, about being your dream move, so to speak. Because that brings us to the final question that I ask all my guests. Um, and that is, who is your current and all-time wrestler that's a dream wrestler that you've never faced? That they want to face, I mean. So current
yeah,
is like currently in the industry, WWE, AEW, or someone on the indie scene, whatever. And all time is anyone who's passed away or retired.
right. So I think both are pretty easy for me. Like dream match right now would be against the Young Bucks. For me and Mambo, obviously. I was actually meant to wrestle them years ago, but I obviously in the time frame that I broke my leg, I was supposed to go to PWG. I was in Bola. I was supposed to go to PWG. I was supposed to wrestle the Young Bucks on night one, and then wrestle Sammy Guevara on night two in the first round, but broke my leg and couldn't do it. And then never got brought back. Who cares? And then like my lifetime person I'd like to wrestle or would have liked to wrestle would have been Eddie Guerrero. I feel like he's my like all time fave. Him and The Rock are my all time faves, but I think I'd rather wrestle Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And the Rock will just shut you down on the promo anyway. So
Yeah. So I'd like to do a match where it's at least 50-50, where I feel like The Rock would just be kind of selfish. So
fair enough. Fair enough. Um, so with that in mind, that does bring an end to this UK Spotlight slash interview, whatever. We always ask, have you got anything you want to plug? Any merch store or any shows you're going to be at in the future? Probably aim for the new year now because this is going out before the end of the year. So
depends when this airs to know what to advertise. Um,
yeah,
Let me check my phone.
I'd say probably aim for things in like the new year because they're definitely going out before the end of December.
Okay, so the only problem with January matches is loads of them haven't been announced yet, so I can't tell
Ah,
you. um, But I will say, we're going to be again. This isn't a spoiler, so and again, I don't really know who can travel overseas these days, but we'll be in Body Slam in Denmark in January. If you don't already know, we'll be wrestling Grizzled Young Vets at Progress at the end of next month in a dream match. Not a dream match for us, mind you, dream match for them. And then there is a big new wave show next month. It was supposed to be at the old Dragon Pro venue, the Neon, but they had to move it because a certain Welsh wrestling promotion were dicks and put a block on it for no reason. But if you can be there, you should go and support New Wave because they are really helping bring the literal new wave of Welsh wrestlers all the way up. And then obviously they're run by the worst wrestler in the world, Brendan White, but it's not his fault. He's bad at wrestling. He's a great businessman, so everyone should go support New Wave. Other than that, the other things on this list, I can't mention. So
That's fair. That's absolutely fair.
the best way you can find out what they are is to follow me on Instagram or Twitter at PureTKC, or come to a stream, twitch.tv/PureTKC, and come have a chat and we can talk about wrestling and everything else.
Fair enough, and that will all be in the description below if you missed him saying it there. I'll also put links into other stuff like say with the Midcard, your blogs, and to your merch store as well, which
Oh, yeah, of course. Please. We've sold out now, but in the new year, yeah, if you don't already follow me, then you definitely should, so you can find out what the hell's going on with the merch. But we have very popular. I mean, Dan's literally been a great supporter, so much so that he had the hoodie subliminally advertised this whole time in the background. His cool blur meant we can't see it, so that's okay. But yeah, sunshinemachinerules.bigcartel.com for all your Sunshine Machine, for all my sunbathers and all my Machina-nites out there that want to support.
Fair enough. Yeah. And yeah, with that in mind, that does bring an end to this. So we can go about our days now. I've been Dan, DB, DeBreezy. This has been TK Cooper, one of the greatest wrestlers in current Brit Wrest scene. And with that, I'll bid you adieu. See you next one. Peace.
Bang.